Hi. So I I guess like most I think so when I sit and I don't make noise with my mouth, it feels like my brain is always producing words inside of it that no one else would be able to hear. And I think I'm not sure. I think a lot of people's brains work this way. Although I've asked my mom, and she says she doesn't. So that really surprised me. But when I produce words in my brain, in fact, I can't turn them off. If I sit and try to think nothing in my brain, it just doesn't work. The words keep coming. Um, well, I think I did. I remember going through a day or two where I turned it off, but it was a great strain, um, and I really had to stop. So if I just sat silently, like right now, I could film myself. I'd be sitting silently, but I would hear words in my brain, and they're in English. I speak English. That's my native language, but every once in a while I get kind of tired of speaking English in my brain. Well, now that I'm making the video, I suppose in the other language I speak is Spanish. I suppose I could speak in Spanish, but sometimes, briefly, I'll just speak in nonsense words. And it's kind of fun for a change. I wouldn't want to do it all the time. I treasure my thoughts as I think about life in English. Um, but for a little break or a little bit of variety, it's pretty nice. I'm hoping I can. I'm going to try to say out loud what I might think in terms of nonsense words in my brain, so you can get a feel. So it'd be like la do do la ba gink gonk do go. Well, that's a little more sounds. I don't know if anything. Some of that, a little of that sounded like words. Beetle beep bop bo 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 gink gonk gule gonk 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 gole gink gink. And just so I don't know if that's a perfect representation, but it's like that. And then, and it's kind of fun, um, just to hear sounds I'm not used to hearing. Um, Occasionally, I will make up a word doing that kind of intrigues me, so I'll go look on the internet, and it may turn out to be a word that I've never heard before. So, but it actually is a word. Like when I was doing it right now, I could hear the word gonk, which I would spell Gonk. And if I went and looked that up on the internet, I'll probably get some hits. I don't know what they'll be. I'll do it right now. Gonk. Well, a gonk is actually a stuffed toy, um, according to dictionary.com, in British English. So I didn't know that, but that turned out to be a real word. And probably, let me see. Well, I'm seeing GNK, power droids. There's actually a Wikipedia article on Gonk. Gonks are a novelty toy and collectible originating from the United Kingdom in the 1960s. StarWars.com, there's something called a Gonk droid. There's a whole article in Wikipedia. Christmas gonks. The first mention of a gonk dates as far back as 1600 in Norway and possibly as early as the 13th century. Anyway, sometimes when I do this, You may find it as an acronym, like GONK might, the first letter, each letter might be the first letter of a word, or, I can't remember. I've done it before and just played with it, just for fun, just for a break from the routine. Now lately, and I should say that I'm a person, I don't entirely mind listening to things in languages I don't understand. Here I'm speaking about nonsense words, but occasionally I've often gone to church services in Armenian, and that was actually pretty good. I didn't understand the Armenian, but I enjoyed being with the other believers. Occasionally I've listened to radio broadcasts in Asian languages. Just for a break from the routine, just to hear some different sounds. But of course those were real languages that someone was speaking. This is a nonsense language as far as I know. Now lately I've been doing the same thing of sort of nonsense words. By nonsense I mean, as far as I know, they're just not real words in a language. But I've been trying to make the most beautiful words or sounds, except not musical. I mean, some more the most beautiful spoken sounds in my mind. So I'll try to do that. Lam dilu don blo blo gola dilu an dilu blo glo gam blo gam lo stam blo boingam. So that was trying to make beautiful. Well, it started to become a little musical. I was keeping it more spoken word, but I could hear my voice becoming just a tad musical. But it does seem to me a lot of times when I try to make the most beautiful sounds, I use the U, the letter U, well, the sound like I think you heard it there, that I was saying a lot of nonsense words. Well, or when I say nonsense, I just mean words that, as far as I know, aren't in English. They're not words that I could give a definition of, because they're just words, they're just sounds I'm making up as I talk that sound kind of like words. But I've only done this for a couple of days, but it tends to use that sound or that sound a lot, because I like the sound of that, with other letters around it, like lum or gum. Well, gum's a real word. Shum, spum. I think they sound nice. I was sharing that with you, thinking you might enjoy doing it for variety. I remember a time, very briefly, it seems to me for fun, I might go up to my mom and just start speaking to her in nonsense. But I quit that. Actually, this is a long explanation, but there's a tradition in the Protestant church. Some people do something called speaking in tongues, where they get suddenly really wrapped up in the religion at a church service, and they start speaking in a language that is not a language they are familiar with. And I don't think it's generally a language like some other real language. Like if they speak English, that they suddenly start speaking in French, even though they never studied French. So once upon a time, I would go up to my mom and pretend like I was speaking in tongues, because she grew up in a really fundamentalist Christian church. I was just doing it to kind of kid her about it. But you could play with speaking to other people in nonsense. I mean, I'm not advocating that to anyone. I'm sharing, because that's a little bit different than thinking in your own mind in these nonsense words. But you could play with it. Just, you could play a practical joke on someone, or it might be fun to sit and actually have a nonsense conversation with someone. You speak nonsense to them, they speak nonsense to you back and forth, and see. I wonder how that would feel. It might feel kind of interesting to see. I mean, would you then watch the other person's facial expressions if you didn't know what the words meant to them? Their expressions might become pretty important, to try to understand what they're feeling as they speak. Or you might listen to their tone of voice rather than the actual words that they're using. So it could be fun to play with. If I do it with someone, if I find someone who will do it with me, I may post about that. But anyway, you can think in these other in these nonsense words and try to make them as beautiful as you can.